Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're listening to us. This is the Clashing Conferences podcast. We are part of the Clashing Conferences network. We are a sports fan network for the people, by the people, of the people. We want fun, banter, and community. Those are all things that you can come join. Link in the bio if you want to come be a part of this amazing community. Before we get started with our rotating members group, gentlemen, say hello before we get to our sponsors.
What up?
Hello.
So we are here with our rotating members group. We're down one Mike Randler tonight, so I'll be hosting. So here are our sponsors who we could not do this without. So first things first, our first sponsor, Sparrow Hair Studio in Lancaster area. If you need a haircut, go and see Lean. She'll take care of you. And if you are a member of the network, you can get a discount on your next haircut, and she will hook you up. So another perk of being a part of our network. And secondly, Lotwin. Rep your team with a custom 3D printed chain, hype chain from Lotwin. Big win, game day, or just showing out. These made-to-order chains bring the energy. Use code TCCPOD for 10% off, or grab one of our oversized customized chains on their website to support the network. Links are in the description. Gentlemen, we're here. Florida is our national champion. What are we feeling?
Not happy.
Crazy game.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, you Kentucky guys. I was really
All right, hey, we kept it in the SEC, buddy. Dominant conference.
Yeah, like Kentucky. You know what I mean?
I tell myself that every time one of my teams in the same conference loses or wins and my team doesn't. At least it's in the same family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess let's address the elephant in the room, Patty. How did Houston not get off a shot with 15 seconds left?
I mean, that possession happened, and not even the 15 seconds. I mean, yes, it's very egregious, but we talk about two possessions. The possession before, they had the strip goes off the guy's knee out of bounds. 2 possessions without a shot. I mean, Sampson put it best. He said, literally, there are no words to describe how he's feeling to talk about that situation. I mean, good for Florida having these guys play defense. Like, obviously, Florida's offense is great, but I think their defense really did prove to be a huge factor in this championship game, which is something that I don't think enough people talked about. The grit that they had to go through. They were down versus UConn. They were down versus Tech. They were down several times in this tournament, and it didn't faze them.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help my capital gains. To be honest with you, I led a couple people astray last night. I thought the over was going to hit, and the race to 10 too. So hey, I knew that their offense was good. I didn't realize how they were going to clamp down on Houston last night. That was a defensive battle that I was not expecting in a national championship game for sure.
And I didn't know, but I did see. I guess was it Clayton played for Patino at
Iona. I actually was going to bring that up with Karan because, not to rub salt in a wound, because we were all, being a New York guy, I do have a soft spot for St. John's. But you think about the one thing that St. John's needed this year, and it was a prolific scorer that could do it all. Yeah. And it seems like that would have been a guy for Patino. Obviously we don't know what happened behind the scenes, but just like a what if that team had Mark Clayton on it is a very interesting point.
For sure. I mean, that's the one thing obviously that did St. John's in for the game, for the tournament. I mean, they just could not make a shot back when they were, in the 32. And if they had that one guy, that killer scorer, then I'm sure they would have advanced. They shot 27-28% from the field that game that they lost. So it's unfortunate, but that's one thing. The one thing I took away from this entire tournament, and again, I'm not the biggest college basketball fan compared to you guys, but from what I did see, especially like with the Duke game, with the game last night, even with the Johnny's game, the defensive intensity in all these games was just something I'd never seen before. I mean, you had a lot of low-scoring games, a lot of unders. Thanks, Kyle. And, but No, that's just one. Even with the game last night, I think it was a very intense battle defensively, and the last 5-10 minutes of last 5 minutes of the game really slows down, becomes a half court game, a free throw contest, and that's just the one thing I took away from this tournament more than anything was the way that these guys were playing defense more than just shooting threes like what you see.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think in college basketball, you can make a name for yourself being a defender. Like we see some of these, like I won't get too much into it, but like the guy that Cody put today transferring over from Arizona State, right, Cody? Like
Yeah.
you look at his stat line, and he seems like a solid basketball player, but like you look at his stat line, he averages like 4.2 points a game, and people are like freaking out about him in the transfer portal because you realize that you can have guys like that if they play shutdown defense in a conference where it matters. That's not something that we see we have had our specific NBA defenders over time. Like, we've had Kawhi who leans defensively, but obviously is very good offensively as well.
Bruce Bowen.
Scotty, same thing. Like these gloves,
OG
Gary
Anunoby.
Payton. Yeah. I mean, OG, great defender too. So, Knicks are up right now too. So,
Yeah, I know.
But
Early.
I think that's something we don't see enough in the pros that is a very college thing, is just these lockdown defenders,
Well, I think a lot of it has to go into effect too with this NIL, with a lot of these in the transfer portal, right? So you're not getting these freshmen that are used to playing against high schoolers. You're getting third year, fourth year, even fifth year seniors that this is their last shot, right? So they're very aggressive, they're very good defensively, they're very sound fundamentally, which I think in years past, I mean, we haven't had that since like the late 90s, I feel like. Late 90s where those last 5 minutes, like Ron said, where everything comes down to the possession hour, right? It seems like there's always a scrum, people are diving for the ball, it's getting tied up, and there's a possession arrow. I've seen more of that in this tournament than I have probably in the last 10 years in an NCAA tournament, right? It's based on the possession. It really comes down to like that last couple minutes, and it is fun to see good defense. But I do think, to your point, going back to the St. John's thing, there has to be something there with Patino because RJ Lewis is now transferring too if he doesn't get drafted, you know what I mean? So like there's something there behind the scenes that I guess Clayton didn't want to play for him,
Something happened. But RJ Lewis didn't play the final 5 minutes of that last game. They got eliminated. So something obviously happened between the two of them. Maybe he took it a certain type of way. He didn't, he benched him. He was the Big East Player of the Year. So I don't know. With all that, he didn't play the final 5 minutes of that game, the closeout game. So I'm sure that's the reason for the transfer.
And I don't know if you agree, Kyle, but I think Pope's out there getting defense. I mean, you got the Diabate and then Quentin's. I think he saw how bad we lacked on defense this year, and I think that's what he's going out to get this year. And I think we
Well, I
might
think
have
you
a
look
chance.
at these. Oh, my bad, Kyle.
Yeah,
I was gonna
man,
say, you
with-
think you look at these
No, go ahead.
teams that went far. Yes, they were 4 number 1 seeds, but and I don't want to pick on Duke too much, but like with the exception of Duke, even all the teams that were in the Elite 8 were elite defensive metric teams all year. Like Tennessee was not as good as Kentucky offensively all year, but they were elite defensively all year. Auburn and Michigan State were both elite defensively. Houston, Texas Tech, Florida. So, and to Kyle's point, Auburn we talked about this last week, like that their starting five's average age is more than the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, it's not necessarily younger kids playing ball anymore. It's a lot of, almost grown-ups, I guess, if you want to say, and that's going to be a more physical game as we move forward in the transfer portal era.
Well, and I think the thing you got to keep in mind too, a lot of these guys that are fourth and fifth year guys that are fighting for their next step in life, they're not making the NBA, but they could have a 10 to 12 year run overseas, right? And that's what they're playing for. And that's where they're going to make their money moving forward, and that's what really matters to them. So I think that's going to be the key. But Cody, to your point, I think he saw what happened against Alabama, and he knows that he needs defense, right? Because they can get the scores in his offense, but they definitely need defense. So that'll be interesting to see how that shapes out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting, couple of weeks over with the tournament being over and the transfer portal. A couple quick shout outs. Congratulations to Paul on winning our internal competition of our March Madness bracket. He beat Kyle, and I believe he sent a message. It says it right here on my notes to quote Degeneration X, and that's what it says right there in my host note. And my second shout out is, we don't talk about it enough as we should. We did touch on it last week, but shout out to Paige Bueckers and UConn, Gino Ariema winning his 12th title. Like, that's a phenomenal accomplishment, especially in today's day and age. And they were dominant on this run. And Dawn Staley, I have the utmost respect for her. So, I don't know if any of you checked it out, but I thought it was a really good game on Sunday.
Dude, I
Yeah,
had no
I
idea
watched
it
it.
was going to be a 40-point game like that. When they were up by like 39, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I had no idea it was going to go that south that fast.
And I love the excitement coming back into like women's college. I got a daughter, so it's cool that she's like, "Hey, let's watch the championship or whatever." But there's excitement going back into it, and it helps young girls actually want to get into the sport and have love for the game.
Carried a little bit into the WNBA, especially like this
Yeah,
past year with the rivalries, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. I mean, obviously the Liberty are the only team in New York that won a title. So
Duty Reese.
Yeah, I think it's really good for the sport. Cody having a daughter as well. I totally feel that. Obviously, she's not necessarily old enough to know what she likes, what she's ball. But I think that what college has provided in this NIL, we talk about all the negatives, but the marketability, especially of female athletes in college sports, is great. And those are going to transfer to hopefully the WNBA. Getting Bueckers is going to be another. There's going to be another lower team that's going to get Bueckers and be good. So the WNBA's problem has always been they kind of been star ridden, and like when Candace Parker was dominant, they won X amount of titles, and then when Taurasi was dominant, they won X amount of titles. Like hypothetically, you're going into next year, you're going to have the aces who have those, they have Plum and Asia Wilson and all them, but then you're going to get the fever on year 2 of Clark, and you're going to get Bueckers somewhere, and you're going to have Reese, for all her offensive faults, is a great defensive basketball player. So I think that this women's game is going to continue to grow, and I'm
Yep,
happy to see it.
yep. I am too.
Here's the question, right? So does the NIL in women's college basketball outweigh the salaries of the WNBA? Because
That's a good question.
I feel like they get better ratings in college right now than they do in the WNBA.
Oh, I
So,
don't even think it's close. Like, I
correct.
think that Flau'jae Johnson, all those Powerade ads that she had during the tournament, like, she probably got paid more by that one company than she'll make in a year in the WNBA. So that definitely is something that's going to be, you're going to see people stay in college for, longer if their marketability is better rather than the WNBA. I think what the WNBA is not their only problem, but a big problem for me is like I never know when their games are, and their games are always like random times, random days. Like when other sports are happening. Why not pick Tuesday nights or some other night to like dominate? And then hey, I'm gonna go watch the WNBA on Tuesday night primetime matchup. Like that's the problem for me is that I just don't really know when these games are on half the time.
Or if these like sports bars would pick it up, like all these college games are like, oh, 50-cent wings on UK U of L games or whatever. If they would do that for like Caitlin Clark, since it's only 2 hours away, people would people would flock to that and actually get to watch it. And I think that would bring attention too if other places actually bought into it. You know what I mean?
So I thought
They
about
were trying
this
to
the other
market that.
day. Yeah, exactly. I thought about this the other day too. What if they should probably try to partner in some way, right? Because the WNBA needs the women's college basketball. So maybe when UConn's playing in the Big East, maybe that's when the WNBA game plays either before them or after them, right? In the same arena. Like, do something similar to that to create the excitement so you can see the future of the WNBA and the current stars of the WNBA. You know what I mean? Like that maybe that'll cause that fan that's watching UConn college basketball will actually now watch the WNBA and not wait for that college basketball star to make it there. So just a thought there. But I don't know how they can make that work logistically. But the WNBA is losing money, so there has to be something they can do.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting thought. While we're on a NBA topic, pretty breaking news as of this morning. Nuggets firing their GM and Mike Malone. I don't know where you guys stand on it. To me, it was a pretty jarring move, even more jarring than the Grizzlies move last week. So, Karan, we'll kind of start with you just because that's where your strength lies. What do you think about this?
Not surprised. Honestly, not surprised. Denver's been kind of treading water the last 6 weeks or so. I know they're coming off a 4-game losing streak. Seeing what happened in Memphis a few weeks ago, Malone's been there for a long time. I think it just came out like watching sports media and stuff that the team he kind of lost the locker room a little bit. He was having some really interesting press conferences. He's called the team out a few times on uh, defensive struggles. They give up a lot of points defensively, considering they have one of the best players in the history of the game. I think it was just time for a fresh face. It's a little weird to do it 4 games left in the regular season and right before you make a playoff push. But I'm not. I mean, if I would have guessed, I would have said he'd probably be gone at the end of this year if
Do you
Denver.
think this was an ownership move, or do you think this was like a player driven move?
I think it was player driven. They have a
That
lot
was
of
going to be
veterans on
my.
that team. Yeah, they have a lot of vets on that team. Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook. Obviously, Jokic has been there a long time now. They've won a championship. So I don't know. I think it was just a question of it. I hate to say the word stale, but I think maybe his message just got stale to that team. I mean, he was there a long time, and it's hard to keep that message for a long period of time. I mean, call it what you want. Tom Thibodeau is now the 4th longest tenured head coach in the NBA currently. So that just shows you the turnover. I know we all make fun and this and that, but there's only 3 other coaches in the league right now that have coached their team longer in today's game. So um, it's just the timing, like I said, is weird to do it again right before the end of the season. But if I would have probably imagined he was going to be gone at the conclusion of the playoffs, whatever that would have been.
So does it come on the heels? Like, obviously, I don't keep up with NBA like crazy. All my time goes into Kentucky basketball. But I did see on TikTok that it was like, was it a couple days ago? Jokic was like all like really, really mad on the bench, and
Yeah,
is
that's
is
the
that
thing.
what?
It was some signs. It was signs, and it was kind of writing on the wall. Jokic was getting frustrated on the bench. The coach was doing some stuff in the post game. He was saying some weird things about how these guys don't watch film, and we gotta show them the film. And he was kind of calling out his players, and not really. You can't really do that in this league anymore. These guys are too high priced, and they don't really respond to that kind of criticism, especially in the public. So. I'm not surprised. I guess I'm surprised at the timing, but I'm not surprised that he's let go. Similar to Memphis. The Memphis was more surprising to me than Denver.
Kyle,
I
any
think
thoughts on this situation?
I think the timing is what's most alarming to me. Like Karan said, I mean, 4 games before the playoffs start. It just seems odd, but he's always been that type of coach that preaches accountability, which is great when you got young players. But to Karan's point, when you have a team full of vets that have won a title with you, like that does get stale after a while. That reminds me of our Philly teams, like our Philadelphia Phillies and things like that, where you needed new juice in the locker room. And maybe ownership, the players went to ownership and said, we need a new face in here, or at least get this guy out of here for the playoff run. We can't deal with him. If you want to give us a shot at a title this year, we need to get this guy out of here. And they listened. So kudos to the ownership for actually listening to the players, because that doesn't always happen in every scenario. But I'm in agreement. I don't think it's too much of a shock. I just thought that it would have been after the season for sure.
And not for nothing, just one last thing. The West is loaded, right? We've seen that all year. The West is absolutely stacked from 1 to 8. And then you had teams like Golden State loaded up at the trade deadline. They got Jimmy Butler. The Lakers, obviously, we know what they did. They get Luka Doncic. The Thunder have like close to 70 wins, and everyone's under 29 years old. And Denver kind of stood pat at the trade deadline. They really didn't get anybody. That's the same team that's been there, and they're kind of just like, this is our team. They didn't add anybody. They didn't add any vets. Everyone else is kind of making a run for it, and they were kind of like content with what they had. So I think that's also partly why the GM was let go. So that's
No, that's definitely. I think the timing is definitely the thing that threw me off today. But I definitely agree with all your points. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
going to bring up a quick. Oh, you go, Cody, quick before
Oh,
I
I was
bring.
going to say, I mean, I would be comfortable with a UK guard, leading my team. I'm just throwing that out there. Good GM move on that part.
Absolutely.
Carry on. Carry on.
You'd be
Go ahead.
comfortable if UK went to the NBA.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have enough players in the NBA. We could form 3 teams by now.
Yep. We need to
All-star teams, by the way. Yep.
bring back the Kentucky Colonels.
There you go. I like it.
But Karan, so I am on the side before, because Chris has got to hear me talk about this before he freaks out about what we're about to talk about. Because I am on the side that I believe in him, but are we nearing a point with Tom Thibodeau where he may not be the guy to take the Knicks over the top? I'm not saying he is or he isn't, but where do you stand on that? Now that I bring this up, because is Mike Malone a name of a guy that that kind of perks your ears, like, oh, I would like him to, do this. Not saying that you want Thibodeau fired, but where do you kind of stand on the whole thing?
I don't want to see Tibbs go anywhere. I said that a few episodes ago. I really want him deep down to be the guy to lead us to the promised land. I do. I really like the guy. I think he brings a lot of good attitude to us. He's been here for even before he was the head coach. I mean, he started here as an assistant and so on, and kind of paid his dues through the way and became a head coach. He's had the most success here that we've had in a long time. So, I mean, just if you see where we were 5 years ago and where we are now, I mean, the roster, the playoff success. Again, we haven't really accomplished much, but making the playoffs 4 years out of 5, it's no laughing matter when it comes to the Knicks, especially since the year 2000.
No, I agree with you, because I think, like, you look at those teams, even like the post Carmelo teams, like those teams, just getting 50 wins is a huge accomplishment. And these teams that exist now, I mean, it's not necessarily like, I agree with you. I would like to see Thibodeau be the guy that brings him over the top. I just don't know if he is.
With that being said, if they God forbid, get bounced in this first round of the playoffs to like a team like Detroit, or they have a bad showing in this postseason, it would not shock me if they made a move. If someone opens their mouth, like if some of the players voice their concerns and say, like, maybe this is how far we can get with Tibbs. Now we need somebody else to take us, like similar to like a Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr kind of situation.
The exact situation I was going to bring up.
Where
exactly.
Jackson got them to a certain level with Curry and all these guys, and then Kerr came in and you saw what happened throughout all of 2010, all the 2010s. So can I see that scenario? Yeah, especially if they don't advance in this playoffs. And again, there's 2 teams that are clearly better than the Knicks in the playoffs this year, Boston and Cleveland. We know that. But we need to have a strong showing in the playoffs, and I think we'll be okay. Other than that, I don't see them making any change. It all kind of comes down to what they do in the first round of the playoffs. But
Make sure you say that loud enough for Topher to hear you, so he can hear that you admit it. There's 2 teams better.
I've said that. I've said that for weeks.
I know you've said
Karan
that.
is the
He
good
hasn't
angel.
said that.
There's
Yes,
the good
he
angel
hasn't
and
said
the
that.
bad angel. Karan is
Yes.
the good voice on the shoulder.
On the shoulder.
Reason. Expectations.
100%.
I don't want Tibbs to go anywhere. I really do hope that he's the guy for us moving forward. I think that the players really love playing for him. They all play hard. They play gritty. No one's really complained. I know there's been some spats and stuff that you see this year, but I think that happens every year. Sometimes the camera catches it, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, they're a hothead team and a big head team, but
Thank you.
I won't let that go. Commenting on Jalen Brunson's hat size on this podcast. I'll be commenting on it.
Size 9.5. 9.5 fit it.
I think it's interesting to me in the long run. I agree with you, Karan, and I'm not a Knicks fan, but I agree with you in everything that you said. I think what interests me the most is, where do the Knicks go from here? Because when they made this push to where they are now, they thrived on their defense, and that's kind of what they hung their hat on. And it seems, and I obviously like they've been better since Mitchell Robinson's been back. And you look at what OG Anunoby's doing, and you look at what Hart is doing. You know, Tibbs gets the best out of his players 100%. But it seems like the things that the Knicks hung their hat on last year, they necessarily can't this year because Towns and Brunson, for as great as they are offensively, are true defensive liabilities in an NBA playoff scenario. You know?
Yeah, no, I said it last week. We lost a lot of toughness this past offseason. Yes, we gained offensively. And this team is kind of built to try to compete with the levels of Boston. That's why we have two big wings on defense in Brunson and Bridges and Anunoby. That's why we acquired a 7-foot Towns to try to play power forward. Just Robinson didn't stay healthy, so right now they're kind of still figuring out a way to get them both on the court at the same time. But we lost that toughness last year when we lost Hartenstein, we lost DiVincenzo. You know, again, this team is more talented offensively, but yeah, defensively they're a liability.
I got to be
Yeah.
honest, as a Sixers fan, I was happy to see DiVincenzo leave because he was a Sixers killer defensively, and he always came up with a timely shot, always. So I agree with you. He was very tough-minded for that team, and they definitely lost a lot when they got rid of him. And you could see it. The passion was in him, where he was very upset. He was very pissed off that he got traded. So
Yeah. And I like Bridges a lot. It's been, I don't want to say it's been a failure, but it hasn't, I guess, been as successful as we had hoped, considering
It just hasn't lived up to the value of what you traded for. It's not that he's been bad.
Yeah,
it's just like that's kind of where you're at. Like I look at some of the things that, like, for instance, like a name that I know was brought up this off season, but obviously you don't know what goes on in the front office. You say, I want this guy, I want that guy. Like I look at where the Knicks could have used those picks, and I think like I would have rather sent those to Utah for Kessler, but if they didn't want to trade him, then that, you know, it is what it is. Like I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so I can't really comment on those things. But like a young defensive anchor in the middle is kind of like what I view as the next step for them. I just don't know how they get it.
I don't know now how they get it now that they gave up all their capital. But you know, again, Bridges in the first year, you know, again, this team is built for a few years. This is not going to be a different team all really next year unless something really catastrophic happens in this year's playoffs.
Absolutely. And as Cody would say, don't matter, go blue or go white, whoever wins, as long as they're not from Loserville.
I was really going to say the way they could probably build their team is, you know, draft
that was a very good
player.
By the way, I have to say.
He does have it down pat.
Months with Cody, you get it pretty good.
I will say, Patty's pretty much got the perfect mock of me. I give it to him.
The best part is, Cody, is that I never met anyone from Kentucky before this pod, but then I met you, and you're like, we eat Weetabix in the morning, brother.
What? Weetabix? Huh? Weetabix?
This is our official. No, hold up the screen, Cody. This is our official at Weetabix on Instagram, X, wherever. We would like you to come sponsor our podcast, Cody Gentry style.
It's the official cereal of the Clashing Conferences podcast.
The unofficial cereal of the Clashing Conferences podcast. For liability, for copyright reasons, of course.
Yes.
Well, this seems like a good time to transition. And Cody, I hear that you're the big golf guy of the group. So you excited for the Masters on Thursday?
Yeah, sorry, I was chewing that up.
Yeah, it was a lot of fiber to put down at one point, so I knew you were having there.
I am. I don't watch it as much as I would like to, but I do keep up with it on TikTok. My dad lives on a country club, so I'm always on a tee box for hole 3. It's fun. I like the environment there. My favorite golfer, even though I know he's not playing, would be John Daly. We kind of share similar, whatever. There goes a Kentucky joke. But, you know, redneck. I love it.
Well, there you have it. But we're going to get into a little bit of Masters talk. I know we had spoken before. This is something, if I might be correct, this may be the first time golf has ever been mentioned on our Classic Conferences Network and podcast. I'm getting the thumbs up that it is. looking at some odds here. That's why I'm looking down. I just wanted to have this. So my pick, who I really like, I think he's finally going to get over the hill. For those of you that might watch a little bit of golf, is Ludwig Oberg. It looks like Aberg, but it's pronounced Oberg. He had a top 5 finish last year at the Masters, and I really like him this year. He's technically 5th in odds. Have Scotty, Rory, John Rahm, and Morikawa ahead of him, as well as Schauffele, DeChambeau, JT, and Neiman rounding out the top 10. Kyle, I know you watch a little bit of golf. What are you excited for this weekend at Augusta?
Well, I'm excited to see if Rory can actually pull one off. He's been playing well this year so far. You can never count out Scotty. He hasn't played well so far this year, but it's Scotty Scheffler, so he can turn it on at any time. It's interesting to me to see how these live guys play because they don't play on any courses that are near Augusta style, right? They with the etiquette and everything, they have music playing, they have everything else playing at these live events. So to see DeChambeau, Rahm, and even Brooks Koepka that high in odds, it's strictly off of how past performances have been. So I don't know how Rahm will do. He's a past winner. You know, I got to be honest, from watching DeChambeau and then watching him on the match and all those things, I'd like to see him actually get a Masters. I used to think that he was a big, big jerk, but then when you get to see his personality and things like that, I actually started liking him. I really have a fondness for him, and if it's a showdown between him and Rory on Sunday, I'm going to pull for DeChambeau. So I think one guy that is always a dark horse for me that I can never count out of a tournament. I can't stand the way he golfs, but Patrick Cantlay. Patty Ice, man, there's just something about him that he seems to come up with a clutch putt in crunch time and when it matters most. So he's my dark horse this week. But it would be good to see the leaderboard how it used to be, where you see, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Rory, Scheffler, like all the big names at the top. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm really looking forward to. But the weather's not going to be nice all weekend, so that's going to play a huge role in it too.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing for me too is I like DeChambeau after Full Swing on Netflix. I don't know if anyone here else watched that. But
Yep. Awesome show.
if you haven't, it's a really good checkout for all those listening. Or Cody, you say you're not much into golf nowadays, but that's a really good show if you got some time on your hands.
Have to watch that.
Ron, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Sort of the same. I mean, to Kyle's point, I know a lot of these live guys. I mean, they only play 54 holes too, right? Am I right about that? They're not even not that they're not trained to play 72, but they only nowadays they play 54. So I don't know if fatigue or stamina takes precedent in this tournament, especially if they make the cut. Was it Rory? Was it the Masters where he had that choke last year? Which it was a major. I forgot which
U.S.
one.
Open, I think.
Right.
U.S. Open, yeah.
All right. Was that against DeChambeau?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting to see him, play again. I know he's always up there in the top 4 or 5 for odds-on favorite, but yeah, like Kyle said, he's got to get over the hump. I mean, it's frustrating to watch him just collapse at the end. Like, yeah, he's got a history of doing. Unfortunately, you feel bad for the guy. Guys like Ron really haven't played. I know they were the winner last year, so yeah. I mean, I will probably take a few flyers out on FanDuel to see, some of the odds. Scheffler is a very heavy favorite compared to the others. It's been like that for like 18 months now. So I wish this guy had one more run in him, Tiger, because I just absolutely loved watching him play. But it doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen again. Other than that, I mean, I do like Brooks Koepka. I know he's I think plus 3,000 to win, so I do enjoy watching him play. I really haven't watched him a whole lot since he's gone to live, so it'll be fun to watch him again on the majors. And if him and DeChambeau can go at it, kind of spark up the old rivalry again, that might be cool to see. I think it was all camera anyway. I think that was all theater. What happened with them a couple of years ago? Because now I think they're best buds.
Seems like it, yeah.
So
No, I think the craziest thing for me, not craziest thing, but touching on the points that you made, is I don't think that enough general sports fans know how dominant that Tiger run was.
yeah,
And just to give the credit of like we talk about, greatest in their sport for a period of time. Like, there are some absurd Tiger Woods stats out there. Just how many times he made the cut, how many majors he won. And it's crazy because, Kyle brought up the point about Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, getting them back on the leaderboard. Like 20 years ago, there was one guy on the leaderboard no matter what. And you just don't have that longevity. Even a guy like Scotty, who has been the best golfer in the world for 24 months, is just a flash in the pan compared to what Tiger Woods was,
So
he doesn't have that buzz, though. Sorry, he doesn't have that
No.
draw.
No, I agree.
Yep.
Kind of
the
boring.
the craziest Tiger Woods stat is his score from that 97 to 2008, like that 12-year run. His score to par in majors is like 126 under, like 126 under par, right? The second place guy during that same time frame is Phil Mickelson at plus 98. That's 200 and I don't know, 220 some stroke difference, and he was the only one under par during that run. That's insanity. It's just it'll never be matched. It will never be matched. At least in my lifetime. It might be
And
100 years from now, but it'll never be matched.
I think
Yeah.
people like my age who actually watch golf, I think Tiger's who did it because he came out with the video games. I think that's what sparked a lot of it in my age group.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was just literally as you're talking, Kyle, I was like, I was wondering some ones like this one says in the 4 major era. So since there's been 4 majors in a year, there have only been 2 majors won by 10 or more strokes, and both of them were Tiger Woods.
Yeah, and he's the only one to hold all 4 in the same calendar year at the same time. So like
Wow.
he's won all 4 majors, and he's been the title, like the defending champ of all 4 in the same season. That's never happened. There's been multiple Grand Slam winners and 2-time Grand Slam winners, but he's the only one. That's why they call it the Tiger Slam. He's the only one to hold them all 4 at once. It's just that dominance will never happen again. And the Sunday red that he would always wear would be intimidating. I mean, Ricky Fowler tries to wear the orange. It doesn't have the same juice. You know what I mean? Like that Sunday red and going up against Tiger, who has ice in his veins. Nobody will ever be able to top that.
Not for
Get
nothing. I don't like
goosebumps
his-
just
I don't
talking
like his
about
new logo though either. I don't know if you guys have seen it. His new clothing line, like now that he's not with Nike anymore. But I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, the Sunday red Nike by Tiger was intimidating. This new one, I'm not a.
I would like it if it wasn't like $150 for
Not
a
that he
polo
wears it
shirt.
anymore.
Like $150. I that's 4 rounds. I'm not paying 4 rounds worth for one Sunday polo when
Yeah.
I'm going 22 over par. Like, like I ain't doing.
Definitely. Obviously the Masters means spring's here and it's getting warmer and it's golf season, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Do we want to? I'll totally leave it up to the crowd. Do we want to swing baseball? We're kind of at that 38-ish minute mark. Do we want to talk about 5-6 minutes of baseball? Or
I
we
see
kind
what
of
you
just
did
wanna
there. I see what you did
wrap
there.
it
Do we
up?
want to swing baseball? I see what you did there.
Oh,
Well
yeah,
played,
baby.
sir. Well played.
You want to
Oh,
just
yeah.
torpedo it? It's up to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire play tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah, okay. Yep.
They play
Okay.
the Savannah Bananas in Kentucky.
That's
On
what I was
MLB
thinking.
99, the show.
Savannah banana slander. None of it. I won't stand for it. You want to talk about something that makes baseball fun for kids? Anyone
That's
that
it.
had something bad to say about the Savannah Bananas, at Patty Bailey on Instagram, at Coach Bailey NHS on Twitter, don't you badmouth the Savannah Bananas because they're doing
No.
a lot for baseball, and I love their product.
Yes, I agree. 110%.
I
But
was not bad mouthing them. I apologize.
no,
I take it back.
it's just that picture of Chase Utley behind you. It's got all the bad blood flowing in your veins. Okay?
Especially for me. Sorry.
Why do you think
But
I sat like this tonight for you, buddy?
I don't want to
did it
talk
on
about
purpose.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
We'll
we don't have
spend-
to touch baseball, but 6 in a row for the Mets, so let's just keep
Yeah,
it going.
baby.
That's all. Don't touch the money.
No, I mean, I think baseball is one of those things where,
Don't touch Juan Soto's money.
we won't, Karan.
Don't worry, they'll take enough out in taxes in New York. Don't worry.
All right. That's okay with me.
But I guess that's going to do it for us here on the Clash and Conferences podcast. Again, shout out to our sponsors, Sparrow Hair Studio and Lotwin. We couldn't do this without you. If you heard something that you want to chime in on, follow us on our socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and X. We're working on building our network. So if you or somebody you know would be interested in coming out and talk with us, please fill out the form that's always linked into both the podcast. And if you're on YouTube watching us, I believe it's in the bio of that as well. Last shout out to Paul. Again, I believe my notes say, again, Kyle, right there from Paul. And gentlemen, have a great night. Ladies, gentlemen at home, have a great week. We will see you next week.
Paul sucks.
Boom, boom, boom.